Mexico's Institute of National Statistic and Geography reported in 2022 that Mexico ranked third in the world of animal abuse and first in Latin America. Both animals with homes and without homes usually roam freely in Mexico, creating uncontrolled breeding, overpopulation, and a crisis for public health and animal welfare. Rosie's Wish, a nonprofit that sterilizes dogs and cats, believes that large-scale sterilization clinics are the solution to end the crisis. Today, founder Donna Lynes-Miller will share information about how the community may help Rosie's Wish. Donna's witnessed horrific animal suffering here and concluded that sterilization was the most sustainable way to end it. She has 20 years experience with nonprofits as a president of three supply chain cooperatives with more than 5,000 members representing chains such as Arby's, churches, and Popeyes. Donna has rescued and adopted three adorable dogs from the street of SMA herself. So please help me welcome Donna to the podium today.
Good morning, Rotary. On behalf of the entire team of Rosie's Wish, we thank you for this opportunity to come here and tell the story of Rosie's Wish, the evolution of an animal-focused NGO. Most people, when they hear the name Rosie's Wish, they're like, well, what's up with that name? Is there Rosie? What's Rosie? Does Rosie have a wish? Well, you bet she's real. And she does have a wish, and that's to end animal suffering in our community. So I'm going to start with a backstory, and if you can use your imagination and travel with me for a moment, I'll tell you how Rosie's Wish was born. It was October 2023, and I was at a kindergarten in Prese Allende with a couple of volunteers. We went to this school every month with birthday cake and gifts to celebrate the birthdays of the children. On this particular day, the moms cooked a fabulous lunch for us. We were all eating outside, and lo and behold, every dog in the community wanted to come and have lunch with us. They were all big to mid-sized dogs, but I remember this little bitty thing. She was so hungry and so malnourished, and she was darting around under the kids' little tables, and she was looking for a morsel of chicken or birthday cake, but she was denied food because the big dogs bullied her. So I gave her my plate of food, thinking, this is probably all this dog's going to get to eat today, maybe even tomorrow. We went about our work, and as we were leaving, I picked up the little dog to give her a goodbye kiss. And I'll never forget that. There was just nothing there. She was just light as a feather. She was so poorly developed. And I cried all the way home. Like, how am I going to walk away from this? I can't walk away from this. And I didn't. Went back a couple of days later and took a bag of dog food, and the teacher said, I'll feed these dogs. Oh, this is the day that we named her Rosie. I'll feed Rosie every day for you. I'm like, good, sounds good. 2 weeks later, the teacher calls and says, Rosie is very, very sick. Not only that, members of the community are abusing her. Couldn't get over that. It was late afternoon, so I said, have the dog at Dr. Ricardo Merrill's in the morning. I'll meet you there, and we're going to figure this out. We're going to help this little dog. Well, morning came, and there was no Rosie. Rosie could not be found anywhere. The men of the community formed a search party, and they found Rosie. They found her by the river, which is not unusual because a lot of times when animals are very, very sick, they'll just go off by themselves and pass away. But in this case, Rosie was not dead. She was hanging on. We got her to the vet. Dr. Merrill nursed her back to health. I fostered her. My property manager adopted her. And the dog is leading the life of Riley. She has everything in the world that she wants. And I love telling this story. I love telling a story because it has a happy ending. All right, we all love happy endings. But as you travel through this presentation with me, you'll see that Rosy is the exception and not the rule. Okay? So let's talk about the evolution of an NGO. Where do we start? We start with awareness and identification of a crisis. In this particular case, it was overpopulation. What's a solution? What can we do? There are lots of different things that we can do, but what do we want to do? Our solution was mobile sterilization clinic that we'll talk about in a minute. And what's the future like? How can we break the reproductive cycle? So you may ask, what is the reproductive cycle? It's when the birth rate and the death rate are equalized in a community and the exponential growth is stopped. And how do we do this? What resources are needed to make this happen? So here are the numbers that you just heard from Joe. And it's staggering that most people that live here in Mexico don't know this, that Mexico ranks number 3 in the world for animal abuse. Mexico ranks number 1 in Latin America for animal abuse. The Institute for Statistics and Geography, located in Mexico City, this is their 2022 research. This is not our research, this is theirs. They found that there were almost 43 million dogs living in homes in Mexico, 7.3 million cats, but the most staggering statistic is the 18.8 million dogs that live on the street. And, what does this mean? Well, this means they live a life of deprivation, starvation, malnutrition, disease. They suffer and they die early. 31% of all the dogs in Mexico live on the street. 96,000 live in shelters, and about 500,000 are estimated to be abandoned every year. And those are mainly kittens and puppies that never had a chance at life. So here we go. Rosy's wish is born. I was privileged to know and work with 3 amazing men, animal lovers. They had hearts as big as Texas, and together we formed Rosy's Wish. 2023-24 were our formative years. We formed our 501c3 in the U.S., our Mexican AC, and then we had a big job of determining what do we want to be when we grow up. The opportunities to help were so broad. And so we tried a little bit of everything. We did some rescue and adoption. This is one of our clients, Coco. I eventually adopted her. We had a small food bank in my garage, and we gave free food to independent rescuers throughout San Miguel. We helped send a few animals to the United States, Mexican mutts up north over the border, where adoption is a greater opportunity. And we conducted 4 sterilization clinics, resulting in 193 surgeries. Now, we knew at this time that we could not be all things to all animals, right? We had to pick something. We had to pick something that we felt strongly about, and where we could laser focus and we could do a really, really good job. We chose sterilization. Sterilization is the most sustainable way to end the crisis here in Mexico. And if you look at this chart, you'll see why. It's pretty self-evident. A pair of unaltered cats over a 6-year period, 67,000 kittens. 1 pair of unaltered dogs over a 6-year period, 66,000 puppies. So what was our solution? Our solution was mobile sterilization clinic. We were very fortunate at that time, and still today, to have a member of our team, Joe Howell. He had a relationship with a wealthy entrepreneur in California. And this man ran a fleet of animal transport buses. He would take animals where there was an overcrowding situation, and he would move them all over the United States to locations where adoption was more possible. And bingo, just like that, within less than a week, we had an in-kind donation of a bus that was retired. It had used its useful life as a transport bus, and it needed to be repurposed for something. So we got a bus. It was a 20,000 USD in-kind donation. We struck out to convert the bus from a transport bus to a rolling hospital. And here you can see the inside was a little bit rough, but with about 10,000 USD in about 8 weeks, we were able to convert it to a rolling hospital. It has 3 surgical stations, a recovery area, and it's pretty slick. We're very proud of it. Here's the outside of the bus, all decorated in Rosie's Wish Happy Lime Green with our logo. And we were off to the Campo to offer free sterilization clinics. All right, Diego, this is a little video. I made it. It's not a professional slick thing, but it will give you an idea of what a clinic is like from top to bottom. Diego, can you make it go?
We are in La Esmeralda, and our clinics always start with a community hostess, also called a delegate, who is the heart of the community as far as animals are concerned, and this is Fernanda. Fernanda has organized a clinic of 40 animals that we're sterilizing today, February the 6th, and I'm going to show you a little bit about the operation. Thank you, Fernanda. These are our clients. And this morning when we arrived on site, everybody was in an orderly line. We have cats, we have dogs, we have half the community here. That's one of the best parts of working for Rosie's Wish, is arriving at the clinic in the morning, wonderful Guanajuato weather, and all these really nice people with their dogs waiting for their sterilization. The first thing that we do is we go into registration. And here we get the information on the animal, the owner's name, the animal, male, female, dog, cat, and then they're weighed. Each animal is given a slip leash for safety and an identification tag for when they go into surgery. The first thing that the vets do will be to give them a sedation, and they'll receive their final anesthesia when they're inside the bus. But today we're working with Blanca and Cesar from the state of Guanajuato. They are excellent vets. This is our second year working with them. They're fast, they're safe, and they're a real joy to work with. Okay, I'm going to take you inside the bus now. Blanca and Cesar, and they're working. This is the recovery area of our bus, and our volunteers today are Renee and Raul. We have 3 client dogs that are out of surgery. When they come out of surgery, they get a little bit of a spa day. They get their nails clipped. We check for fleas. We clean their ears. And we give them a little TLC before releasing them back to their owners. This is the front of the bus. This is our administrative area. This is our dining area. So it's comprehensive. It's a beautiful thing. And we are just so privileged to be able to offer this community service. Thank you.
Okay, Diego, can we advance? All right, that's what a clinic looks like. That's what we do just about every weekend in some community. We started our trial clinics in March of 2025. We did 2 trial clinics in March, hit the ground running in April, and by December of 2025, which is a 10-month window, we had completed 28 clinics with 1,203 surgeries. We surprised ourselves, quite frankly, but we were aggressive in our scheduling. We worked hard, and we wanted to break that 1,000 number. This chart shows through the first quarter of 2026, and I actually, since this chart was made, we actually have done a little bit more. In 2026, we have completed 14 clinics, almost 700 surgeries, bringing the 13-month window to 1,903 surgeries. Oh, 44% cats, 56% dogs. So what does it cost to run an operation like this? For around 1,000 USD, between 18 and 19,000 pesos, and that's assuming that we do 43 surgeries per clinic, which was our average for 2025. Our highest expenses are vets, obviously, starting at around 150 average pesos per surgery, a little over 100 pesos per surgery for medicine, a little over 50 pesos for non-medical supplies, and these are all variable cost. We have one employee, that's a fixed expense. We have our bus insurance, that's a fixed expense, but this is a very, very efficient model because the majority of the expenses are variable, therefore we can dial up and down the number of surgeries based upon cash flow. Oh, I need to say this as well. Yes, we only have one employee, but we have a bank of 40 volunteers. And they are amazing. They're out there doing the work. It's exhausting work, but quite fulfilling. And we would not have the success rate that we do without these volunteers. So Robin asked me to put in a slide about collaboration. Do we collaborate with other animal-focused NGOs? And the answer is yes, 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 we do. I'd like to speak to this organization, Para los Animales. They are an NGO also here in San Miguel, and they are a coalition of animal-focused NGOs. Rosie's Wish is the only member that does 100% sterilizations. We have an equine member, and we have several members that also do a little bit of sterilization, but primarily rescue and adoption. So I'd like to share a very sweet story about the benefit of collaboration. We were at a clinic several weeks ago in Loma Blanca. It was a big one. I think we did 70 surgeries that day, and we were feeling really good about ourselves. And here comes one of our clients into the bus, and he said, "Did you know that in this field out here, this open field, is a hole? And in that hole is a mama dog with a broken leg. And she's got 4 beautiful puppies, and their eyes aren't even open yet." Well, he was right. And the first thing that I did was put out an SOS to Para los Animales. In less than 2 hours, one of our coalition members was there, took Mama Dog and 4 puppies to Dr. Angel. They stayed there nearly 2 weeks. Mama Dog had to have her leg amputated, and we had to wait a good long while because her stomach and her intestine were filled with trash, and that's what she'd been eating to make milk for those babies. But she survived her amputation. The same member from Para los Animales that rescued the family had already made reservation for a foster mom. So again, the Para los Animales works again, and yet another member agreed to facilitate the adoption of the puppies when they were ready to go. So that is one of the sweetest stories I love telling about collaboration. So what does our future look like? This year, 2026, our goal is 2,000 surgeries. Okay? And I am not one worried about our team making that goal. We will make that goal. Long-term goal, what is the end game? That's a little bit of a different story, a little bit more difficult. Again, we want to break the reproductive cycle. What is breaking the reproductive cycle? When the death rate and the birth rate are equalized and there's no more exponential growth. The barriers to achieving the long-term goal, fundraising. Show me one grassroots NGO that has not had to deal with funding in their beginning. But we have a fantastic fundraising team. We're figuring it out, and that is going well. I want to say something about the street dogs. Remember I said earlier in the presentation that 31% of all the dogs in Mexico lived on the street. Well, Rosie's Wish operating model does not address street dogs. We only sterilize dogs that have owners. Why is that? The process to sterilize street dogs is extremely complicated. These animals are sometimes feral, they're afraid, they're aggressive, there's a risk of dog bite. So people that really know what they're doing have to trap them several days before surgery, observe, make sure that they're candidates for surgery, and post-surgery, they need to be housed and observed again to make sure that they can be released back into their environment. This is called TNR, trap, neuter, and release, highly successful strategy in India and other parts of Asia. And we need to figure out how to do this en masse in Mexico to really put an end to the crisis. The 70% factor. You all may have heard of the 70% factor in vaccination. It's science. And it basically says that unless 70% of animals within a given community are sterilized, that it's going to be very, very difficult to break that cycle. You'll be basically treading water. Treading water is not bad. Treading water is better than drowning. But we want to do better. We want to end the cycle. You may have heard of the 70% factor with vaccinations in communities. With COVID or measles, that 70 or 80% of the community needs to be vaccinated to stop the spread of the virus. It's the same thing. You probably heard of it in herd immunity, that a certain percent of animals in a herd should be vaccinated to stop the disease. It's the same concept. We performed a test of the 70% concept in January. The community was San Antonio del Varal. And we had a group of volunteers go in, do a census of all the animals in the community prior to our clinic. So we knew how many animals were there, how many animals needed to be, how many animals had already been sterilized, and how many animals we needed to sterilize to reach that 70%. We held a 2-day clinic, highly successful, and we reached around 73%. So we'll go back next January doing another census and verify that we were indeed able to break the cycle. But moving on down to culture bias, if every pet owner that had made a reservation with us had shown up, we would have exceeded 90% in that community. All righty, wrapping it up, practical and moral benefits. The animal and human benefits of continuing our work are wonderful. Reduction in the zoonotic diseases, parasites, reduction in vector-borne diseases from fleas and ticks, and reduction in dog bites. It's not what gets me up every morning, all right? I continue the work with all I can give it because of the moral benefits. What are moral benefits? Well, animals have been our evolutionary companions since the beginning of humanity. They have served us with their hunting skills, helping us with food, helping us with security, not to mention loving companionship. And I think we owe them a debt of gratitude. What's going on now with the overpopulation? It's not their fault. I see they're responding to their genetic wiring. That's all. But they need our help. So, yeah, they need our help. I think it's time for people to be aware and to make a choice. I know I have made my choice, best choice I ever made in my life in terms of fulfillment. Um, but it's the raising awareness thing that has got to happen. And that's the reason that I got to say one more time, thank you so much for letting us be here, because you know that no great change was ever occurred without awareness being raised. And it's forums exactly like this one that allow us to do that. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, first, thank you for a wonderful and motivating presentation. That was just great. From a you talked about how many cats and dogs. I'm somewhat curious as to the male castration percentage versus female spaying for hysterectomy percentages because of the difference in this difference in the procedures and the difference in the recovery issues from those procedures.
So your question is,
More males? Are you castrating
no,
more males
no,
than you're spaying
no.
females?
And that goes into culture bias, quite frankly. Some of the communities, some of the families in the community simply do not want their male dogs castrated. They feel as if whatever their job is in the household, if it's security, that animal can do their job better and perhaps be more aggressive. So
If
that,
you were doing it in the TNR group in the wild
yep,
non-owned pet, I would think that castrating males would be so much quicker, simpler, and almost as effective as spaying the female.
you're right. You're 100% right, and probably more so. Exactly. Yeah, thank you for that question. Good.
How do the people reserve in order to be there at the moment that you need to be them to be there?
You know, every organization has someone that is the glue that holds a thing together, and we have one. She's a secret weapon. Her name is Martha. Martha has been involved in sterilization for many, many, many years. She's Mexican, right here from San Miguel. She is so well known and so respected. So actually, we have communities come to us, but when they come to us, we put them in touch with Martha. We require that there be a delegate in the community, and this is 100%. It's a lady. She has the respect of the community. She's an animal lover, and people know that she can be trusted. So it's the coordination between Martha and the delegate. We form a reservation list, follow up, follow up, follow up. Because a high level of participation is really necessary for us to make our clinics efficient financially.
Is there such a thing as a one-dose sterilization drug? And if not, let's invent one.
I don't know, Tom. I'm not aware of one. I think that there might be some medication or a dose like you refer to in trials, but they're not, at least not being used in Mexico that I'm aware of. Perhaps other countries, and perhaps that we should investigate that. Yes, it would. Yes, it would.
Inspiring talk. Thank you. I wanted to share an idea and a question. My husband visited his sister who lives in Oaxaca, and on her street there were many street dogs, and he sterilized them with the help of a professional blow darter. So that's how the anesthesia was done, like the blow dart. So I probably is not recommended, but that's what they do there. And then the question was, when you showed the statistics of number of cats brought in versus dogs, it seems like the percentage of cats was a little higher compared to how many cats are out there. Do people bring in cats more, or maybe I misinterpreted the statistics? It seemed like there were more cats brought in relative to the number of cats in the community.
Well, the research from the Institute of Statistics and Geography, they're telling us that there were 43 million dogs to 7.3 million cats. And clearly, and they followed up by saying that Mexican families prefer to have dogs instead of cats for whatever reason. So the relationship of those two numbers there compared to our number of sterilizations, which are 44% cats and 56%, it's kind of out of whack. There's not an alignment there. All I can say is the people in these communities that have cats must really, really cherish them and love them, and they live indoors. That's a guess. It's anecdotal. Thank you. Thank you very much for everything.
So thank you, Donna, for the wonderful work that you're doing in the communities. She also shared last night and this morning that they're starting an educational component of this program as well, teaching young children about taking care of animals and not getting into an abusive pattern of kicking their dogs, and which is what they see older people doing, in their lives. And we see it when we're out in the Campo communities ourselves with our programs, and it's just heartbreaking to see a boy at a school go and kick a dog because that's what they see, that they're modeling the behavior of people in their life. So, well, we'd just like to give you a small token of our appreciation, Donna, for coming and being with us this morning. And I think Jose would like to get